Well, welcome back. This is still Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for sticking with us. My name is Aguko. It's a pleasure being with you on this fine Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for sticking and choosing to be with us on KBC Channel 1 as we talk about matters concerning fuel prices, fuel taxation right here on this morning conversation. I am with Irene Kimathi. She is the chair for the United Energy and Petroleum Association, known as UNEPEA. Karibu sana, Irene.
Thank you so much.
How are you feeling?
Good.
It's good to have you.
Thank you so much.
First things first, what's UNEPEA all about?
UNEPEA is an association that we've brought up together with the retailers and fuel dealers, small ones and the middle ones, so that we can be able to look at how the market chain of fuel is working in this country, and also look at the policies that are affecting us as dealers of fuel.
Okay, yeah. All right. And so far, I know you've been on the ground and you've seen how things have really hiked up, and Kenyans are complaining, and the cost of living is also affected. I'm looking at the stats. By 18th of January this year, we hit a record of 2,132.92 megawatts. This is the record of record increase. Kenyans have increased the use of power for both domestic and commercial use. The energy demand has increased, and of course that is within your sector. Since 2022, it has increased to 8.91 million. And by July, that is by July 2022, it increased to 8.91 million. Do you feel like this increase in demand for energy and petroleum and, of course, fuel by Kenyans is a point of concern?
It's a good concern because it means that people are working. They use energy to produce. But also, on the other hand, it's very unfortunate when people work for the wind, because when you work too hard, your cost of production is high, and what you're getting back is little. It means that we have people that are working and not getting as much income as that. So higher consumption means that people are working, and the Kenyans are hard workers. But also now we want to look at how do we bring these prices down, because fuel is a major key driver in the economy. And if we neglect fuel, and government really interferes with fuel as much as it is interfering with it, it will always cause our cost of production to go high. And the fuel industry is a point of interest for many people in many countries. Our country also involved. It's also a sector, if not looked at, can have a lot of cartels. It's also a sector where the government looks at to raise a lot of money. For your information, our fuel, half of the cost or price that we pay is money that we pay to levies and taxes. The cost is not as high. And there's no problem if the economy can be able to carry. But the problem comes when the interference is too much, until the people that are supposed to carry this fuel to the consumer have nothing to make. And in every business, what drives us is the profits. So when we are not making profits, and the little profits that we are making, the taxman is after us, and the taxman is after us, taxing us what we cannot be able to pay, then it becomes a big problem.
Sorry, let me cut you short there. Just a point of clarification on what you've mentioned. You're saying that taxation isn't the problem. The problem is what happens between acquisition and supply.
Yep.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, taxation is not the problem. The problem is how it is administered to us.
But taxes are the ones that influence prices.
Yep.
I'm looking at the current stats here from 15th January to 15th January to 14th February. We expect the fuel prices to remain as they are. And currently, super petrol is retailing at 173 shillings and 30 cents. Diesel 162 shillings. Kerosene at 145 shillings and 94 cents. All these prices are as a result of taxation. And the common mwananchi understands that if we increase taxes, the prices also increase. But you're saying that it isn't about the taxes. I'm confused there. Clarify on that issue.
Now, For us as business people, because if I say it's about the tax as a business person, we will look like we don't want to pay taxes. And as business people, we are committed to pay taxes to our government so that it can be able to run.
Exactly.
The problem comes when how these taxes are administered is not understandable to us, and it is tax that is beyond us paying, and that's what we are talking about. And it's a time that the government really sat down with all the stakeholders to be able to understand, because when you look at the policies that we have, it's as if the government just considers the big players, the ones that are importing, shipping in and doing the wholesale. They forget about the retailer, and remember that the retailer is the person that is making us, is fueling the country, is the person that is making us always drive around and do what we are doing. The very people in the very rural areas where the big people, the big players cannot be able to play. So you look at the policies that are being made, you realize that nobody is considering the small player. We as independent dealers and the small players, as they would quote us, because small players, we are many. We have a big percentage in the market share, but we are one person, we are individuals. But when we bring ourselves together, we are more than 50%. So we can say as a team, we are big players. We drive this economy. But now let's come to the retailer. When the government puts policies that are just killing this retailer, they give us taxation that is not able to be done. For example, the 8%. Because we as Unipair, what we are really pushing for is that this 8% that we pay for fuel as retailers be roped on top of the lander, where when we buy, the VAT is calculated there. This will be good for the government because there will be no pilferage. You know, fuel, all the fuel that comes into this country comes from one source. We don't farm fuel. We don't. We just get fuel from one source. So the government knows how much fuel we get. And if they can put this tax that they are putting on our level of the 8% VAT on top of the lander, then it will save so many small players from dying. Why so? Because this 8% is not, we are not able to work with it. We are supposed to give a receipt at the point of sale. This receipt we are not able to give as the retailers. Why? When somebody comes and buys fuel, let's say it's a motorbike guy, he's buying at 50 shillings. Today, the margin that we are given by EPRA is 4 shillings for the retailer. 4 shillings per 1 litre. And 1 litre is around 175, 180 shillings. So for 180 shillings, you are making 4 shillings. You can imagine for 50 shillings or 30 shillings, how much money you're making. And you're supposed to give an ETR receipt for every person that is fueling. And if you don't give this ETR receipt, do you know what the fine is? The fine is not exceeding 1 million shillings. So depending on the judge that you find that day, you can be fined 1 million shillings for failing to issue a receipt for a person that is fueling 30 shillings.
You've mentioned a very good point there, many good points there. Energy, and you're looking at both power and petroleum in the country are critical socio-economic inputs. They play a key role, especially when it comes to the GDP of the country, whose the cost of these particular issues access and have a ripple effect on the GDP performance of the nation. Yet you mention that the issue is the policies. Do you feel like the taxation policies that you have in the country need some work, or are they okay the way they are?
They are not okay. They need a lot of work. And this is where we are saying the legislators. You see, now you have a very big debate on taxation. And you have a debate on people who refuse to pay, who evade, and who pay. Why would people refuse to pay tax? One of the things is that they don't know what they should pay. Do you know how many taxes you pay? How many taxes do you pay? Can you tell me?
All I know is that it's a lot of money.
But you don't know.
I was looking at my paycheck and I was perturbed at the prices. How much is going in terms of taxation?
Yeah, now you pay as you earn. You pay VAT for everything that you buy.
Yes.
And other taxes. Now today we have CBC, where we teach our children to cook, we teach them to swim. Do we teach them about taxes in this country? Because you find the education system in our country. You do CPA, you do degree in accounting or in finance. There is no place that you'll be told the policies of taxation in Kenya are like this. You'll just be told there is VAT taxation, progressive taxation. There is no place that you'll be taught the actual thing that you need to do as a business person or a citizen of this country. So you'll find that every person that is going to open a bank account, they'll get a PIN certificate, but they don't know what this PIN certificate is for. Nobody will teach them. Nobody will tell them that you need to file nil returns at the end of the year. So they'll be there. The time they'll need service is the time they'll be told you're penalized because you did not file nil returns. So we have a big problem on tax education in our country. And you'll find KRA, they are going to tell you, we teach people. What do they teach people? They will call people, business people. They will give them a seminar of maybe 2 hours. This seminar, you're calling people, you forget that these business people, the small players that are paying this tax, cannot be able to employ an accountant. So, and their education level is maybe not the degree level that you'd want to think. Maybe they finished class 8, they got a job, they did this business. By the way, most business people in Kenya, the small business people, are not very educated people because they are there by default. They finished school, they did not get a job, they started doing something, exchanging, and that's how they make their money. But you're expecting to educate a PhD person with a class 5 or 8 person.
In the same class? In
the same class, within 2 hours. And you expect this person to be able to go and carry out what you've taught them.
There's a problem there.
Yeah, and basically they never even teach anything. Because even these officials of KRA, most of them, they don't have the business aspect. What they know is the laws governing them and covering them. So when they come to teach you, they don't know how to merge business and taxation, and that's the biggest problem we have. Look at somebody like Keroche. You will always see her on TV. Do you think that woman is foolish? Somebody that can employ the amount of people that she employs, and there's no business person that wants their business to finish. We want our business to be a going concern. But our biggest threat when we do our SWOT analysis is the taxman. Not because we refuse to pay. It's because we don't know exactly what they want us to pay. And when they come to demand from you, what they're asking from you is basically what is not payable. Because you make profit, you remove the tax, the balance is what belongs to you. But if the tax is higher than the profit you're making, how do you pay? And this is where tax evasion is coming in.
And there's no profit there.
And you have not made profit. Maybe they're taking the old tax of the profit that you're supposed to make. So for you to survive, what do? You start meandering and trying to do things so that you cannot be able to
Which
pay.
ought not to be there. Tax evasion.
Yeah, tax evasion should not be there.
Should not be there.
So people should understand, and the taxman also should merge with the business people, especially in the fuel tax the sector. We are calling the taxman and all the ministries that are concerned to sit down with us and understand how much money we make, so that when they are administering their tax or whatever, they'll understand we have made this amount, I'm giving you that percent, I'm giving you 8%. They have given us 4 shillings and they have capped us. So even if you make losses, you cannot be able to push the 8% to the consumer. So the 30% that you're supposed to pay for corporate tax and the 8% that you're supposed to pay is all roped in between the 4 shillings. And the wholesale guy is not capped. So these 4 shillings can sometimes become 2 or it can become 1. And when the taxman now comes to assess you after 7 years, because our law says you can be assessed after 7 years, they'll say in the year 2015, this is how you are looking at your calculations. The money you paid, you are not supposed to pay that amount of money. And because they look at the cash flows. And then they'll say, for every 1 million, we give you a markup of this. For every 1 million, we give you a markup of this. And in our sector, we are high turnover. 180 shillings is getting you 4 bob or 3 bob. And now somebody will say, for 1 million shillings, I'm giving you a markup of 12%, which you're not making. This guy you're talking with is covered by policies and laws that you don't know as a business person.
I love what you're saying. You're mentioning all of the challenges that are there in this particular sector.
And they are numerous.
There are so many.
There are so many.
Regardless of that fact, tax evasion isn't what we are proposing.
No.
It is not.
It is not.
Because from how you talk, someone may say, you know what, there is high cost of living, taxes are too high, then it means tax evasion is permissible.
No.
Are you saying it is permissible?
No. We should all pay taxes. The problem is, if we don't teach people how to pay taxes, the ones that are faithful to pay taxes like us are the ones that are carrying the burden of the ones that refuse to pay taxes. And why don't they pay? Is because all of us don't know what the taxman wants. And this is also giving a leeway for the tax officials to be very corrupt. Because they'll give you a demand. They'll give you a demand of 100 million. And then you'll be told by the official, give us 10 million and then pay the government 2 million. How comes that this government does not know the corruption that is in KRA? You know, I usually wonder if some of us live in Mars and others live in this country.
That is subject to investigation.
Yeah, it should be
subject
investigated.
to investigation.
And it should be investigated. And I'm telling you, it's a reality. It's a reality. I call on you as a media, whatever company. Why don't you go and investigate KRA? Because these are the things happen. Talk even to the legislators that are here. All of them, they know the dealings with the tax, with the KRA. And for the people that want to be faithful, we want to be told 1 + 1 is equals 2.
But yeah. we shall leave that for the investigation agencies.
Let them
because
do that
so
as
far you do not have any evidence in regards to KRA and matters of corruption.
Yeah,
that's true.
I don't have evidence.
Wonderful.
But you know, reality is reality. You cannot run away from it. And if we don't tackle some things, we are going to kill businesses, we are going to chase investors from our country, and we are going to be wondering what is happening. We are going to blame the government, and in real sense, it is our systems that are not working.
Investigation agencies still.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, looking at the tax policies that you've mentioned, yes, all those challenges are there. Do we have any solutions to these challenges?
Definitely, we have solutions.
Just to mention but a few.
Kenyans are hard workers. And if we are given the right environment, we are going to work. We are asking that the governments that we have and the leaders that we put in place, they shall not be coming to become leaders just to make money from us. Let them make policies that will cause us to give them an environment to enjoy their leadership. Today, our fuel is about 180, 170 something, 160 something. This is causing a lot of demand for the dollar.
Yeah.
And when we have a lot of demand for the dollar and what we are bringing in is not as high as what we are taking out because we import fuel, our balance of payment is affected. When it is affected, the value of the dollar goes up. What happens to the value of the shilling? The value of the shilling goes down. What happens then? We have inflation. And what happens? From there, the common mwananchi, or all of us, not the common mwananchi, is not able to get their goods at a price that they can be able to afford. So you find the person that was earning, like my employees, what I was paying them 2020 is what I'm paying them today. Because despite the fact that my cost of doing business has gone high because of the cost of capital. Last year, but when I was buying fuel at around, I was selling fuel at around 100, and today is 180. The cost of doing business for me has gone high because the interest is high. But the profits are not even the same, they are lower. So for my employee, I'm paying that person the same money, but buying the goods like unga at a higher price. Now you see the irony of it. If we don't work on the fuel, then we are killing everyone.
You're mentioning a very good point here, because Kenya's inflation rate has remained high throughout last year, hitting by December 9.1%. Food and fuel prices are still soaring high, and Kenyans have to reduce on their consumption and their purchase rate.
Yeah, people are eating 1 meal per day, not 2 meals. And this one is going to have an effect on our children and our people 2 years to come, 3 years to come. You'll see the effect. Because in school, a child cannot get what they are being taught on a hungry stomach. Families and marriages are breaking every day because of frustrations. People are not getting those jobs as fast as they should be made. So it's time that we sat down and reviewed our old taxation system. We have the adulteration fee on kerosene, which is around 18 shillings or something like that. This is money that we have put on kerosene, causing kerosene to be a little bit higher on prices. Are we having the positive effect that we wanted to gain when we were putting the adulteration fee? Because we are putting the adulteration fee so that fuel will not be adulterated, but it is also increasing the cost of living. So it's time we sat down and reviewed these policies and the taxes and the levies that we put on fuel so that we can stabilize our economy.
I'm looking at our investments. Do we need to invest more in terms of energy demand studies to correctly project realistic future energy requirements that go hand in hand or are commensurate with the economic plans for the various sectors?
Yeah, that one should be done. I'm expecting it is always done. But do we implement what we find out? And number two, who do we incorporate when we are doing these studies? Because if you go and sit down with scholars and the people that are reading from books, and you don't talk to the people that are on the ground feeling the effect, they will tell you this market works like this. What policies do you come up with?
And something realistic.
Yeah. Policies that you come with will not help that person that is supposed to be on the ground working. These are policies, maybe you go and do benchmarking from US, you do benchmarking from Britain. You forget what is the literacy level of your people. What is the culture of your people? We are not the same people with US.
So even as you say, it worked for this particular country, it worked for that. It might not necessarily work for Kenya.
And
we need to customize our own solutions.
And the problem we have as Kenyans is copying. We are good copycats. We will copy from everywhere, but we don't customize it with our people. And that's a big problem. It's a big problem we have.
It's a very big problem we have.
Yeah, a big problem. And fuel dealers. Fuel dealers, we are saying government.
Yeah.
When you hear us making noise, you know when you are bitten by a snake, you don't scream the way you scream when bitten by a safari ant. We are the ones that are shouldering this economy, and we are getting very tired. We are getting very tired. When they do subsidies, they burden it on us. And the citizens are happy, the cost of living is down. We are the ones that are shouldering and carrying the burden. Today, the government is still not yet paid for the fuel subsidies. And so the small importers, the supply, the independent dealers with fuel cannot be able to bring the fuel.
You're saying subsidies don't work?
Subsidies are not working for us because basically what they do, they give room for the big players who have the money, who can be able to bring fuel even when their money is not there, that their money is held by the government. But for the small player who's using small money, 200 million, 300 million, to turn over and bring in fuel, and every time they bring in, the government is holding their 25 shillings, and they will not pay today, they will not pay tomorrow, they are not paying this money with interest. This man is paying interest to the bank, and he needs to move on with the business, and now he has no money. What happens? Most of them now, the bank is on their neck. The government is not paying them. They cannot be able to bring in fuel. So what is happening? It is disrupting the fuel supply. And what else is happening? The multinationals and the big players, they are making supernormal profits. On who? On us. Because we are not enjoying the law of supply and demand, where the supply dictates, the demands dictate the supply, and the prices also come to an equilibrium because of the supply and demand.
Wow. I want us to take a short break, and then we will be back with more on this particular conversation right here on fuel taxation. I'm with Irene Kimathi, the chair for the United Energy and Petroleum Association. Let's take that break. We'll be back with more right here on Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We proceed with this morning conversation right here. It is all about matters concerning fuel. A very hot topic this fine Tuesday morning. And I invite you to be part of this conversation. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya, and engage with us. My handle is Aguko. What do you think about matters concerning fuel? Is there something that needs to be done to ensure that we are looking into a bright future? How is the future in your own eyes, from your lens? Is it bleak? Is it bright? We are with Irene Kimathi, the chair for United Energy and Petroleum Association. Irene, thank you so much for sticking with us.
Thank you.
And before we took that break, the studio was getting a bit hot. I want us to talk about licensing and of course even as we talk about matters concerning how acquainted our associations, organizations, our entities are, and within the corporate sector, is licensing, or does licensing play a key role in this conversation?
Yes, a very big key role,
How?
Especially for us, the fuel dealers, and basically the retailers. You'll find that we have so many licenses that we have to comply with. And these licenses are roped on each other. So you have to get one license to get the other. You have to get the license from NEMA, Occupational Safety. You have to get license from KENA or KURA. All these licenses. Then you have to wait for EPRA to give you a license. And this is taking ages. And we want to say this. As a business person, time is a very big key factor in business, because you have to calculate your return on investment. You have to do projections of when you're going to start your business. There is no free money. Every capital that you put, maybe it's borrowed. Wherever you have taken it from is borrowed. So when you take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years to do licensing of one petrol station, then it means we are curtailing growth. And when we censor so much how we are going to build petrol station, or how we are going to license petrol stations, what it means in a free economy like us, we are taking away the opportunity of people growing and supplying fuel to the very rural people and in the remotest places. And then we are going to create a room for black market, because when you see demand, and you know human beings, I said again, we are driven by profits. And EPRA is not giving you license because you have to comply with so many licenses that are not forthcoming. You start selling fuel from the house, which is very, very dangerous.
That's very risky.
And that's why I said it's good to understand the ground before you put up some rules. And sometimes maybe this can be done so that some players will not feel the heat, because we are growing, the independent dealers are growing. And now if you're a big player, you don't want, it is not a cup of tea for you when other people are entering into the business. But I want to say this is a free economy. Let everyone have an opportunity to do their business. If you can't do your business right, then you'll be pushed out of the business. Big players have the ability to do advertisements and to give bonuses. They enjoy the whole system of the supply chain. Some of them will do drilling, they'll bring in the fuel, they'll ship in, they'll get money for wholesale, they'll get money for retail. And therefore, let us not kill the small investor who is trying to eke a living by making sure that they don't get licenses. Also, we want the small investors also to understand, what do you require from me? And how can you bring it down to the level that I can be able to afford? So that if my station is small, what am I required to do so that I can be able to be working? And number two also, there are laws that EPRA has put, and the fines that they have proposed are just too hefty. Fines that are going up to 10 million shillings. And we are saying you cannot find somebody whose business is not even worth 1 million to 10 million. It means you're setting up our people to be jailed anytime, because they will not be able to pay these fines. So even as we are setting the fines, let us understand who are the people that we are fining. Because sometimes it's as if the policymakers, as I said again, when they are making their policies, they look at the big players. They look at their cash flows and their profits. They forget there are small players in this business. So when they put fines of up to 10 million, what do they want to mean? Don't do this business. Or if you do it, then keep bribing. And I said again, our laws, how we make them, they are the ones that really feed corruption. And you'll never run away from corruption if we don't work on these laws. Now let's come to the counties.
Okay.
We are pushing for a system where counties will have a percentage of money they can hike. Because what is happening, when counties want money, what do? They increase the licensing fee. And who are they looking at? Is the fuel dealers, because they usually think we have a lot of money. So like today in Nairobi, their fire license has gone up to 100,000 from what? 10,000. So how do we work when we don't have projections? Today, the tax money is saying this, the county government is saying this, Another, NEMA is saying this, we have to comply with the licenses from NEMA. I don't know about 3. We have to comply for EPRA. I don't know about 4. All these licenses you cannot project, because every business you want to say, this is the money for licenses, this is money for interest on capital, this is money for taxes, this is money for salaries, this is money for rent. I'll make this. But you find in our business right now, away what is happening, we are not getting any return on our investment. When you put up a petrol station, by the time you return, I don't know what time, because everyone is carrying for this little money that we make. So we are pushing for an agenda where the county governments will say, if you have a petrol station, we are going to increase the licenses with this percentage. Not this knee-jerk thing that they do. Morning they wake up, they say today it's 100,000, and when you ask them, you know what they say? No. Well, people have money, you're going to pay this 100,000, and you can do nothing about it.
Everyone wants a piece of this meat. And
there's no meat. So who dies? Us. We are doing the donkey work, and I will say that the donkey now is tired.
But still, licensing is important. Yes, yeah. It is important.
Yeah, but let it be done in a sober and appropriate manner that is considerate. And you know, the work of our government is protecting its citizens. So I'm wondering if our government is protecting us, because right now, as I usually say, most of our people are sick from blood pressure, depression. Why? Because of the so many things that they need to comply with. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want us to move to something else, because on that licensing, I don't know if there is a solution to that. Is there a particular number of licenses that we need to have? Should they be condensed to a particular document?
Yep. We are saying, why don't they be a one-stop shop?
A one-stop shop.
Yeah. When I go with the license, I want to put a petrol station, I'll be told, do NEMA, I'll do. For physical planning, I'll do. Let there be someone who can be able to look at all the things. Then EPRA, they have a board that sits down. When they are sitting down, let them tell us. The board will sit down once a year or once a month, so that we can be able to project, because you can never be able to know when they will sit down and consider your license. On the other hand, on the EPRA board, we don't have anybody that is representing the independent dealers. So I can just imagine, if we don't have such a person, then it means they will make their policies without considering that we are there, yet we are very big market players. Let me tell you today, Ram, if we decide today we are not selling fuel for one day, just one day, this country will know.
All right, let me, okay, you've mentioned a very good point there. That's a very life-threatening.
No, it's a reality, just to show you how important we are, and the government should take the importance as it is.
But if you strike.
Yeah. Which we are not planning to do, but if they don't listen, what are we going to do?
Do we need to invest on alternative sources of energy? I'm looking at renewable energy. I'm looking at green energy. Is that a solution?
It might look like a solution, but it's not a solution. Number one, for Kenya, we are going to rely on fossil fuel for a long time. Why? Because most of our vehicles are imported vehicles. We buy second-hand vehicles. So as the other continents are trying to phase out these vehicles that are run by fossil fuel, they are bringing these vehicles to our country. And therefore, for that matter, we are going to be using this fuel for a long time, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Yeah. Another thing, when you say about the electric vehicles, have we seen how they are performing? I was reading an article the other day, and there's a country they are talking about the consumption of electricity for this vehicle is now becoming higher than the fossil fuel. On the other hand, remember, even as we are trying to run away from this, the OPEC is there. That's a cartel. When they see we are trying to go back to electricity, they are going to stabilize their fuel. They are going to bring it to prices that we can be able to afford. So I don't see if it is going to work in the long run. All
right. I want us to bring this conversation to a close on that particular note. Irene, Kimathi, thank you so much for making time to join us today.
Thank you.
And of course, I wish you the best in your endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ram.
That brings us to the end of this conversation right on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Ram Aguko still. Thank you so much for being with us. We're taking a short break, but we still have more coming up your way right here on KBC Channel 1.